What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. Well, everyone from Metroid fans to Super Smash Bros. Fans are all abuzz about Nintendo's latest Direct. And here at the podcast, we've played our demos, we've researched our details, and it's time to lay out a verdict. So, what do you guys think? What was your overall impressions of the Direct?
Before I say that, did you just quote that stupid quote from the Nintendo ad or from the
Absolutely.
Metroid ad? That was awesome.
What was the quote?
Everyone from what was it, Metroid fans to Super Smash Brothers fans are taking notice or whatever it was, and the ad is it's just like, oh, they're just trying to get some crossover demographic there. God, that was lame. And since I jumped in already, I'm excited. I'm most excited about the big third-party offerings. I mean, not that there's other things to be excited about, or not other things to be excited about, but those to me are the biggest news and the biggest deal. Even though I already own one of them.
Yeah.
Which one do you own already?
I feel like I should also mention we got kind of a packed house, in addition to Jason, myself, and Z. Eric is back, and we've got the triumphant return of the T as well.
Hey.
It's good to have you back.
The T-Monkey.
Yeah.
And by the way, Eric, I own the one that's out. But go ahead.
Doom.
Yeah. I thought it was okay. Like I don't think the biggest deal is the Bethesda Doom and Wolfenstein coming, just because it's like you got Rockstar now, so it's like third parties are coming back, so that's probably more important to me than anything else they could have announced. But they did a good deal. I felt like they spent too much time on some of the stuff.
Like on an Octopath Traveler?
Yeah, and Xenoblade's not my thing, but I know people love that game though.
No matter, you know what? I don't know how excited you were for the new Xenoblade. I'm sure there were some people that just salivated over all that. But I was watching the YouTube stream, and there's that little chat window next to the YouTube stream, and I just saw Z's going all by. Like nobody wanted to watch that. At least not that much of it. 5 minutes would have been plenty.
They're pulling out all the stuffs, man. They got like $100 special edition of that coming, and then the Pro controller. And
you know what? I think I've decided the amount of time that they spend on a Direct dedicated to a particular game is inversely proportional to how well they think it will sell. Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
ARMS, they promoted. I think they're worried the Xenoblade is not going to sell very well. And that's why they give us a Direct that contains 20 minutes of it to bore the crap out of us with it, so we go, okay, I think I've seen enough of that game now. I definitely don't need to buy it. I
mean, the first one was a big deal, like especially like that was one of the ones that GameStop had been like reprinting and stuff. If you remember that, like you couldn't get the Wii one, and the price went up, and then GameStop like started reprinting it. So like it was a big thing, and then I kind of would be curious to see how it did on 3DS.
How can GameStop
or new Nintendo 3DS?
How can GameStop reprint?
That's something they started doing. They started getting licenses for games that were rare. They would get like a license to reprint them, so like they would make new copies of them, but still sell them for the same price that it's going for. I think they did that with Metroid Prime Trilogy as well.
Weren't they involved in actually localizing the game somehow, or at least pushing for its localization? And that's why they had such a huge influence on everything past the point of when it was released.
That could be. I'm so not knowledgeable on what they've got going, but I think they do kind of dip their toe into video game publishing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
so that's possible. But it's also surprising that with like Mario Odyssey, they didn't announce a Pro controller for that yet.
So
they announced a new Switch for that. A Switch bundle.
Yeah.
How do you get the red? The red Pro controller is part of what? Isn't there a red Pro controller?
That's the Xenoblade one.
I thought it looked pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks sharp.
Yeah.
If you're a fan, that's definitely one way to go. Who knows? Maybe down the line they'll just do a bunch of them. Have some yellow ones for arms. It seems like it wouldn't be that hard to just sell those grips and just take out the screw and screw on a new color. Like, you know, like
Like 3DS faceplates, but for your
Yeah.
controller.
right. But I mean, I guess the like some of the ones like the Splatoon and obviously the Xenoblade one like have their own art on the controller itself. But maybe a third party will come to the rescue with some silicone grips to slide over them or something.
I never buy third-party controllers. I just feel like they might be inferior to Nintendo controllers, but I guess that's not true. Is it, Z?
I would say so.
They are.
I bought that Nyko monstrosity and was I'm just so disappointed that Nyko thing. I mean, it's stupid that it exists because of the whole phone thing for voice chat, but like it was a neat solution to that problem, and I liked the little cartridge slots and the fact that it was a battery. Like I had used that battery already to charge my phone, like as a power brick. Like, you know what I mean? It was like a Swiss Army knife of grips. It was great. Everything about it was so cool, except its basic function of holding the Joy-Con securely. It did not do. That blew my mind. I was playing Splatoon, and like, right, you're playing Splatoon, and it just slips off as you're pushing real hard pushing forward real hard to, or whatever you're doing, and it would just slide out, and all of a sudden I have, you can't control the thing like that.
Quit playing like a spaz.
Yeah, basically, exactly. So that was frustrating, and I don't know. Historically, over the many years that I've owned Nintendo consoles, I've occasionally picked up a third-party item, and it just never, at least none of the ones I've ever picked up have ever been anywhere near on par the quality with an official Nintendo product. I know there's exceptions, like the 8-bit Do or 8-bit Do or whatever, however hell you say that name, that place.
Yeah,
their products are apparently of exceptional quality. Everyone seems to rave about them. I haven't tried one myself, and I know they're like some of those fight sticks, those $100 fight sticks are really nice quality arcade sticks, and there's some good ones out there. But your average Hori aftermarket or Power A or whatever, I usually don't bother with that kind of stuff.
I always thought Hori stuff was a cut above because a lot of that is officially licensed. Like
that Hori Joy-Con charger just was just a little cheap feeling. Like it has
the screen protector for Switch that they made was a big strike too.
Was it really?
that plastic one? Yeah, it's just like bubbles for days. It was like plastic, but the Switch gets so hot that the adhesive starts to loosen. So it's like you can flatten them all out while it's cold, and then once it starts to heat up, there's just bubbles that appear
because bubbling up because of the heat. That's terrible.
That's lame.
Not their fault. Not their fault, But the 3DS screens don't heat up like the Switch does.
I've been real happy with my Skinomi, just to throw out a plug for them. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. I never put screen protectors on any of my consoles either, which it ruined my 3DS. So when I got a new one, I was glad because bottom was all scratched up. But I don't know. They just
I've always used them, but I don't have one yet on my new 3DS. But
on the 3DSs, everyone have that problem? I mean, at least for me, I always put screen protectors on it, so it never damaged my actual screen. But it seemed like you'd always get some kind of grit in there on the edges around the bottom screen. Yeah, and you'd always get just a little bit of scratching, at least on my screen protector.
I've noticed that. My Wii U, though, I put one on day one, and that's pretty good.
I mean, they tend to accumulate over years, but I'm pretty careful about the amount of pressure that I apply on the bottom screen, or I try to be.
Well, it's just for me, it seems like most of that, I'm assuming, occurs when I'm just throwing it in my pocket and carrying it around, and it's just bouncing around in there with little dust grains and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's that always irked me with the screens being two different sizes.
But it's worthwhile. Like I considered it, but I don't know. I just never got around to it, I guess. Screen protector for 3DSs. And usually I keep mine in a pouch of some kind before I put it in a case or my purse or whatever.
Yeah, see, my wife is the same way. Her 3DS is spotless, aside from the D-pad having little, chips and scratches in it from her nails. But the otherwise that unit is just flawless. And then I have the exact same 3DS. We both have the original Zelda one, and mine's just beat to hell. Like it doesn't even like you can hardly believe the thing even works. Oh, and the shoulder buttons don't on it. For some reason those stopped working a while back. But hers is flawless, magnificent, gorgeous, museum piece. She's just far less slovenly than I am.
Yeah, my shoulder
use
button
it.
stopped working too, and I think the A button stopped working, and that's when I had to take it in for repairs. Cost like $100.
See, I
But
never
then-
bothered. At some
just
point,
buy a
I
new
will.
one.
At
Well,
some
I couldn't
point,
buy a new one.
oh,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the
that's
worst
selling
part
them
is when you
anymore.
go to buy a new 3DS now and you're like, or for like an extra $50, I could just get a PS4.
Well, no, but the other thing is, like, I think what you might have been saying, Eric, is, or maybe you weren't aware. Sometimes, like, they told me they couldn't guarantee me that I would get my Zelda 3DS back if I
Yeah,
send it
they
in
told
for
me that.
repair.
Yeah.
I would get just a plain black one, and it's like, are you
No.
kidding me? No. Like, yeah, no. So what I'm ultimately going to do is I've got two identical ones. One is flawless except for a beat up D-pad, and mine has a perfectly good D-pad because I never use the D-pad. So I'm going to eventually take them all apart and make one beautiful museum piece and then one to give to my child later in life to destroy.
I've never used the little nub on my new 3DS, or barely use the ZL or ZR buttons too. I
Oh,
don't
speaking
have,
of that little nub.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, that's just saying because I don't have Codename Steam, which is one of the few games that uses it. Forget
Well, you know
else
what?
uses it.
There's actually a fair amount of games. Well, I don't know, at least a
Use it
few
for
that I know
Smash?
of. Yeah, there's
Oh, yeah.
Smash. There
But that's
is
just instead of the C button, right? Or
well,
instead
It's
of
for
using-
you can do smash attacks. I think Kid Icarus, anything that used that Circle Pad Pro,
Circle
you can use
Pad
it for
Pro.
Steel Diver.
Exactly. You can use it for what's it called? The Nano Assault. The second one, like the download version. I don't think the cartridge version supported the two sticks.
There's a couple first-person shooter types.
Yeah, there's a few. Oh yeah, that Moon Chronicles uses it too. I forgot. That was a fun little. It is kind of cheesy, but that was a fun little FPS for 3DS. If
Oh, I
anybody
have
didn't
that,
play
but
it.
I haven't played it yet. I know it's on my system. I think I got it in a bundle at one point.
Yeah, it was in one of the humble bundles.
Bundle?
The first episode, I think, only, which
Yeah.
is really all you need to play. You don't
Yeah.
once you get through the first episode, there's a story, and it's a cute little story, but you really don't need to play anymore once you've gotten through the first episode. There's nothing more to see there.
Okay. Good to know.
But it's yeah, no, I mean it's fun. I went and bought the other episodes and I played through most of them and yeah, I like, you know what I mean? I bought them kind of hoping, oh, there'll be bigger bosses or there'll be just more to it, and it really was just pretty much more of the same. But at least there's like a whole little storyline that you get to follow along with.
Well, they're humble. Speaking of the Direct, what did you think, T? Was there anything that you caught your eye?
I had to look through a list of stuff that happened because I'd already forgotten. But I
So
think
much.
Steam World Dig 2 stuck out, and also Kelp Dome randomly.
Yeah,
A lot. That one of my favorite.
and that Snapper Canal.
Yeah.
The
Sorry.
best named
We're such-
stage in all of
We're
Splatoon.
such adolescents around
Yeah.
here sometimes.
Um,
But no,
I'm
the Kelp Dome, and I don't want to talk about Splatoon because we always talk too much about Splatoon. But
Yeah,
I think we're all excited to see Kelp Dome back, and that's all.
yeah,
I'm
that's a
gonna say.
nice. That's a cool
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
That made me really
Snipper
happy.
Clips got the deluxe treatment, which
Oh,
I was
yeah,
kind of
now I'll
surprised about.
probably finally pick it up, but I'm
$10.
gonna wait for a sale, I think.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't have
$10
the-
for
Yeah, that's the
DLC.
thing. It's like I feel like the $20 price point was so awesome for it, and they probably made enough money off of it because it was a launch
It was
title
a
that they
top-
should have just.
It's
Yeah,
been
they
on
should
a
have just
top
done this
seller
as free
list for a
DLC.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should have been
it's a
free
great
or-
game, but yeah, they should. I think the $20 price point really helps that game. I'm glad that they're paying some attention to it, but
And the other thing I don't get, anyone that didn't buy Snipper Clips and wants to get Snipper Clips Plus, I think it's $30. I think it's just the cost.
it's
of Snipper
$10
Clips plus the deal. What?
Yeah, you just pay $10 to update
Yeah,
it
you
to the
pick
new.
No, he said if you didn't.
pay $30 for the full one. So I didn't. You don't get any deal either way. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
No, that's what I was saying. He was saying if you never bought it in the first place, it would be
Right,
30
yeah.
bucks. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
$30. So.
a friend of ours had
Oh.
commented, "Well, I'm glad I waited on picking that up." Well, that didn't really get you anything because you still
Yeah.
got to pay
You're
the
still
full
paying the
price
same.
anyway. Mhm.
But it is what it is. It would have been nice if they were like, "Hey, even if they were like, hey, there's an early adopter bonus and it's $5 to upgrade your existing cop." I mean, I guess it's only 6 months old, so they don't really have to do anything, and they usually don't. But
That's the
Yeah.
old Nintendo way of thinking, that we get something for free.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
yeah, it
appreciation.
really
Very
is
true.
too, man. Like I said, I talked about earlier in the week that it's like with Pro controllers, it's like at least an extra $5 or whatever for the special edition ones. It's like they don't. I'm surprised they didn't charge more for the Metroid 3DS. But I think that the 2DS, I saw the Pokemon
I think
in
he's
the
talking
direct
about.
DSs.
The Pokemon 2DS was. God, I just wish it wasn't a 2DS. I wish it was a 3DS. That would have been
I
nice.
wish it was a
That
small
seems to be the
3DS.
consensus. Yeah.
That's everyone. Yeah, no, everyone seems to agree with that. And what was the other one they just recently announced that's a 2DS? Something else kind of cool.
Oh, orange and
Um,
white creamsicle.
Orange and white's the only one we're getting. Japan's getting a Pikachu.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
a little while back there was another. Wasn't there some other specialty 2DS
Oh,
that came out relatively
the
recently?
blue. Oh, the 2DS XL, the black and blue one.
Are you talking about the Dragon Quest one that had the slime?
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that was. You're right. That was Japan only though, wasn't it?
Wasn't it a 3DS? Or am I mistaken?
I think it was 3DS.
Because I remember,
Okay, then I'm crazy.
I remember a reporter talking about it, and he said, "I wouldn't have bought this
Crazy.
if it wasn't a 3DS."
That's just me. I'm just old. Never mind.
We're all old,
So,
so don't worry.
so we got arcade archives coming. Sweet Mario Bros. uh,
Which, as we commented before, I don't know what demographic that's aimed at other than people old enough to have played those in the arcades. And I don't know how many of us that there are out there, but I don't know. Maybe they think people my age are going to want to, people our age are going to want to show it to our kids. Like, hey, I dumped quarters into this when I was your age because I'm an idiot.
yeah, well, that game came with everything too. Like on the Game Boy Advance, I think all those Mario games for the Advance when they did like Mario 2 and Mario World and all that stuff, like
That is
those
true.
had that just as a free thing. And didn't one of the new
Couldn't
Super
you-
Mario Brothers come with it?
As a matter of fact, I'm pretty positive. I thought it was Super Mario 3D World that was unlockable. There's a Luigi buried. There's a little Luigi icon buried somewhere in the map that if you find it, you unlock that. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm mixing up my games, but I'm pretty sure it was Super Mario 3D World. But that was very recent. Yeah.
Toad's Treasure
It seemed like a
Tracker?
weird way to get people.
It
Well, yeah,
might have been-
that had little mini somethings too. Yeah.
That I'm trying to remember. It might have been Captain Toad. I thought it was the original 3D World though, but I might be wrong.
It's
Captain
on the
Toad
phone.
did
Yeah, it
have
seems like a
Exactly.
weird game
By the
to be
way-
like, hey, there's a new line coming out. Everybody get hyped. Here comes regular non-Super Mario Brothers. Yeah.
Here's a random point of note. Did you notice, at least specifically on the Punch Out one, it said at the bottom of the screen, arcade footage shown?
Oh,
Yeah, I noticed that. I think it did that. I think it did that
Tricky.
on multiple ones.
Yeah.
So it won't look that good then, huh?
That's the only one I'm excited about. Oh,
That's the one I've got. Yeah.
It shouldn't be hard to replicate.
Yeah, you can't mess those up.
Yeah, they already.
They'll find a way.
Yeah, no, but they're not doing it. But they did. Remember, they already played around with all that stuff. Oh, that's right. People have their gripes about the way they handled the DS games on Wii U. Right, there were limited viewing options.
Yeah,
like everything.
Wasn't it
had
weird
to
on the
have-
Wii that they had arcade games?
Yeah,
Like, they had arcade games on the Wii from Sega and like other stuff, but they didn't have the actual Nintendo ones. And I'm surprised that they didn't. You would think if you were going to lead with a game like Donkey Kong kind of seems like the one if you're gonna lead with an arcade game.
Yeah, but I don't know if we brought this up before. I had posted that article. There's a whole legal backstory to who owns the rights to Donkey Kong.
No, they took Universal to court and they won that because they
his
showed
article
the
was
King
different.
Kong.
Yeah.
Oh no,
was
well
different?
no. This is different because apparently when Donkey Kong was first made, Nintendo wasn't a software company. They didn't have software developers, and they hired they basically outsourced the software development of Donkey Kong. So they didn't write it. Who was it that went over there? Was it I think it was Miyamoto actually. They said basically had no software experience at all.
He was just an artist.
He had no development. Yeah, he was just like an artist, and they said, "Okay, you're in charge of managing these outsourced software guys and basically telling them exactly what we want this game to work like, and they're going to actually write the code for it." So he designed the game, but like he designed it like, okay, just stupid little things like, remember at the beginning of the game they had the little music and Donkey Kong comes out and like jumps on the girders to like to make them crooked, right, so that Mario can get up them. Like those like little details. Most video games just didn't have any kind of details like that. Nothing cinematic whatsoever at all in that era. Pac-Man was a very early one that had those little scenes. Had the little cuts after a couple levels and whatever. But
or was that Ms. Pac-Man that had those? I mean, I know it had them, but
it definitely. OG Pac had it too. Yeah, but that was still kind of a new idea. That was around the same time. So that's one of the things that at the time the development house he was working with was points of contention, is why does he want us to do all this weird extraneous crap that isn't really part of the game. He just wants, because it's all this extra coding we got to do, when we could make just the simple coding of the game. And so that was how that got developed. But because of that, there's apparently always been this legal battle over that old company, which apparently doesn't. I think the company still exists, but it has it doesn't do any sort of software development anymore. But there is still some legal back and forth about who actually owns the rights to Donkey Kong, whether it's Nintendo or the company that actually wrote the software.
But I read that article, and they said that like later on, I think in the 90s, they settled with them for an undisclosed amount.
Did they?
It was, I guess, a lot of money. Yeah, I think it said that in the article that they settled with them out of court.
Okay, I might have missed that. I also know that a lot of the guys from that original, a lot of the guys that worked on Donkey Kong shortly after joined Nintendo anyway. Like a lot of those guys they just hired anyway because
they poached them.
They basically poached them because Nintendo puts out a few arcade games and they're huge. Like Donkey Kong was a pretty damn big arcade game back in the day. So it's like, hey, these guys make these cool arcade games. They're making tons of money and they want to hire us. Hell yeah. Wouldn't you?
They actually explained where the name Donkey Kong came from too. It's supposed to Miyamoto came up with it, and he was trying to say
stubborn
because donkeys
are
stubborn. Donkeys are stubborn, and so he somehow decided, okay, he's stubborn. He's a stubborn gorilla, so he's a Donkey Kong.
Well, I think the Kong came from King Kong, but
exactly. But
stubborn.
But he was like he had his limited American thesaurus in his head of, okay, what are other words that mean stubborn and what are other words that mean gorilla, and that was about all he could come up with.
Well, I think he used a dictionary because they said he basically knew almost no English at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but it worked out for him.
And Mario was named after the landlord that was beating down their door for the late rent when they came out with Donkey Kong so they could pay the rent.
Yeah, they said his last name too. It starts with an S. Forget what it is.
Oh, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
Italian.
Here's what I'm excited about. Okay,
Mario's nipples.
New news on this front, on this old video game front, talking about because this is my era. This is back in my day. Yeah, right. So we have we have all these arcade games coming out, but we also just recently find out, theoretically, and this is still not 100% confirmed rumor, it's just a few people on Reddit, but right, supposedly golf is embedded in the Switch firmware or whatever, and people are figuring out how to access it, and it does seem to support motion controls. That's all neat. But here's what I thought about. Do you remember who remembers the actual Punch-Out arcade machines? Do you guys remember the ones that had?
I've seen them. I remember the dual screens. Like,
do you remember the weird handles?
Oh yeah,
I don't.
like fist,
some
like
of
a
It was a
like
little,
a
yeah.
sword
There
handle.
was, it was like a little grip, and
Yeah.
you could punch. You would punch with these
maybe.
handles, right? It was a very, very. It totally is like the early Wiimote stuff. But that was what they were trying to do with those machines. So I thought about it. If they're going to build motion controls into this, they could replicate those old machines with the Joy-Cons. The same thing. They put the same motion control stuff in, but now it's actual modern motion controls instead of this big giant. I remember them being like these big aluminum grips that you had to hold. They were like ski poles or something, like big, right?
It's like instead of a virtual reality, Nintendo is just going to start selling swivel chairs so you can hold the Switch and spin around and shoot. Like
a swivel chair with a little mouse in front of your face.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We saw. I had mentioned the last time we got together how I missed the days of the Nintendo Direct where they say, and blah 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 is available immediately after the Direct. Unfortunately, this time we got Minecraft for 3DS.
Well, I
people
think
love
it's
that,
now available on every platform ever
known to man.
conceived by mankind. Yes.
Pretty much. Here's a random point of note about 3DS Minecraft. No online capabilities, which kind of what's
it's
the point of
edition.
Minecraft? Yeah,
exactly. Wow, you thought Minecraft was boring before.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna patch in local multiplayer. But again, it's Minecraft Solitary Edition.
Plus, Needler support ends at November 7th for it too. For Minecraft.
I was surprised that Metroid got a community. I was kind of wondering if that would happen.
Wow. I was surprised about that too.
Have you been abusing it?
Bother. I've put a few things here and there. I did notice.
You posted a pretty good one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I don't know if I'm guessing this is intentional. So if anyone's played Metroid, the scenes to me that look the worst in the Metroid game are when you use the elevators and when you use the teleporters. They have like these weird, like it seems like a completely different art style just kind of shoved in. And I mean, it's not horrible looking, but it's just it does. And notice if you try to post an image of that, you get the little circle slash. You can't post a screenshot of that to Miiverse, but the game's gone. I don't know. So yeah, we get the Creamsicle 2DS. I'm trying to think what else they had. There's the big MOBA is coming.
Yeah, 10 cents evil, but it's
Flip Wars finally gets the update that everyone wanted.
Yeah, but the MOBA. Talking about the MOBA, that's a big deal. That's got a big user base in China. And it's the fact that Nintendo doesn't sell into China right now. So this deal with Tencent might open that door. But Tencent's pretty evil, man. They are huge, and they're one of those kind of arm of the Chinese government kind of companies.
Oh, wow.
Like every company in China.
Well, a lot of the big ones. Yeah, all the big ones, really. So that's like as soon as I discovered that, I decided I'm never putting any money. Supercell's owned by Tencent, so I don't put any money into. Not that I put hardly any before anyway, but I won't put a penny into Clash of Clans or whatever anymore. Just because and just the idea, just in general, once something's too big, I try not to put too much money into it. And again,
Yeah.
that feeds into why I've always supported Nintendo over Sony or Microsoft, because Nintendo, however big Nintendo gets, they do one thing,
Yeah.
right? Sony has its hands in all sorts of electronics and whatever, and Sony's this big conglomerate of a company, and this little PlayStation wing we've got. Microsoft, same thing. Oh, there's the Xbox division. If the Xbox goes under, Microsoft kills it. If the PlayStation goes under, Sony kills it. If Nintendo's console goes under, what the hell happens? Nintendo is no longer the same company it once was. Right?
Yeah,
It's just not the same thing.
They've always hinted at trying to like branch out, like we're gonna do sleep sensors and stuff.
But even then, it's not the same. It's still like
they're not. Yeah, that games is their business.
Not even just games, like fun experimental technology is their business.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they're always doing something different.
They did mention that they're starting a theme park. No, they just have a. Is it their own theme park?
It's Universal.
It's
Universal.
They're partnering with Universal. Universal will be opening Nintendo lands in various.
And that'll be in
Universal
Japan
parks.
first.
Japan first, but coming here eventually.
You'll be down there in 2 weeks. Not at the park that they're planning on building the Nintendo theme thing, but just in the area. So if I bump into Miyamoto, I'll be sure to have him sign my 3DS.
You're going to be in Kyoto?
No. He's been in Orlando several times to kind of scout the area.
Oh.
Mhm.
See if you can get him on the podcast, by the way.
Yeah. We'd love to
You're
have
like, hey,
him.
I'm going to be down there. I'll say hi to Miyamoto for you. It's like, oh, wow. Look at you.
All right.
We need Bill Trinan to translate.
Yeah.
Let's get him down there too.
What else we have? Who's downloaded the Project Octopath Traveler demo?
I have, and I agree with your assessment on Twitter, which I think you said this shit is boring.
Yeah, pretty much everyone who's picked it up and played it, who wasn't a diehard RPG, like old school Square Enix fan, has said the same thing.
It is painfully
Yeah.
slow.
I'm not bothering with it.
And it was like,
I'll tell you, it is a pretty looking game. Like, I like the style. It's very dark though.
it's gorgeous.
But yeah, it looks good.
I don't
Unfortunately,
like the
that's the
style,
best thing. Oh yeah.
It looks like it belongs on a
Style and no
3DS.
substance.
Thank you. That was my first immediate, especially because it looks like it would have looked so awesome in 3D because of the landscape and the little 2D paper doll type characters and whatever. It would have looked gorgeous.
We might start seeing that where like 3DS projects that are scrapped make the jump to Switch. Jason had
that's happening. Yeah,
a great observation with it too. I know.
About the final boss there on the one path.
Yeah, he's just like, I played it. It's just like an old man fighting over a chair or something.
Yeah, the final boss on the one path is an old man sitting in a chair.
The final boss in what?
Yeah, on the Primrose's Path, the final boss is old man
dude sitting in a chair.
Drinking
With
some
Spoiler
wine.
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Does he sit there
$35.
and chuck old man life advice at you too during the battle? Because that would just totally make it worth
No.
picking up.
And it looks like something
Trying.
from like an old children's book. Like
But
the
particularly
picture of the
so.
guy, right? It's this goofy looking. Sorry, I think I interrupted you, T. But
Not a problem. Go on.
what were your opinions on Octopath Traveler?
Oh, I haven't started playing it.
You haven't
lack
tried
of
it.
time, and I'm pretty sure that I'd agree with you guys anyway. I trust your
It would
opinion.
bore
We
you
make it sound so appealing. Like,
Final Fantasy Online and whatever and all that kind of stuff. You're playing all these fancy MMORPGs with all sorts of exciting, gorgeous graphics that we see pictures of on Twitter. And don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but this is just boring. It's just painful. And when I got to the dude in the chair and I couldn't beat him because I just raced straight there, and the wife's like, "Oh, that means you got to go back and grind." It's like, all right, I am done with this demo.
the stuff that I thought was most interesting about it is throughout the entire direct when they're talking about it, every time they say Project Octopath Traveler, it's like working title or
Working
title not
title.
final. It's like, so they haven't finalized the title yet, but then they're going to put out a demo. Like, and then, it said something about there's going to be a survey about the game.
I got
Play the
email.
game. And I'm like, I feel like they don't know what they want to do with it. Like, they're like, here, play this game and tell us how to finish it, please.
But
I
on the
don't know if
bright
that's really what
side,
it was.
if you guys take the time to like write honest feedback, they might change some things and make it ultimately more enjoyable to play.
They couldn't change that game
Could you
enough
make
to
this a
make me
Castlevania game?
Optimism. It's my optimism.
How
They can
would you like to
turn
see
it into an
Castlevania 2 done in the art style of Octopath Traveler?
God.
I would no. You know what? I would like to see. A Mario like or a Zelda like in that style, though. Right?
Yeah.
It is a very pretty style.
I got tired
Yeah.
of playing it. I played it past the final boss and till you meet the other character, and I got really sick of looking at it.
There's no
Yeah,
way to
it's
save your
weird. It's a
progress
weird
either.
like focus too. Like how stuff goes in and out of focus. I don't know, Eric. I didn't play enough
I
of it.
dig that.
I literally walked like along the main kind of square area and was like, well, that's enough for me.
I was
But I'd do
actually
that with
impressed
every
that
RPG.
it was kind of edgy. Like they have a scene where he like slaps her and says like, "You'll pay me back
Oh,
one
yeah.
day." They didn't want to go as far to say that she was a stripper. They just said she was a dancer, but they did make it kind of edgy though. So that's impressive.
Well, and
for-
you didn't get it gets edgier.
Oh really?
Jason knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's pretty dramatic.
Oh man, I want to go back and play it now.
Yeah, full blown
Who was the
hentai.
writer for it? Did they have credits or anything like that at the end of the demo?
I don't remember. I know
Did
they
all of
paid
you
a big
guys-
deal over the voice acting for it.
Did all of you guys choose Primrose too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did too.
I always choose the chick first. What are you talking about?
I did play.
I chose the dude, whoever that is.
I played as the dude, and I don't know. It got really boring quick. You have to fight everyone. It's like here's a random villager, and let's have a 20-turn fight with this random villager.
But T, what were you gonna say about who was the director? You were just curious.
Yeah, I wanted to know who was the writer, the translator, because Koji Fox, I think was his name. He's probably just like sequestered into Final Fantasy XIV for like the rest of his life, but he was the main reason why I still played. Like I kept playing because the gameplay for 14, and this is kind of off topic, but speaking of like Square's translators, they tend to have some really good people, good localizers.
Well-
But yeah, the story for 14 was the main reason why I kept playing it because the gameplay just kind of got dull after a while. It's
Well, I
very
don't know
repetitive.
I don't know if any of you guys noticed this, but the default for Octopath Traveler is English. So I changed it to Japanese like towards the end, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like in Japanese they'll just say like and then
Yeah, I
in
noticed
English
that.
they'll write like a whole sentence. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
They're still developing it. Maybe they hadn't gotten that far yet.
And I kind of wasn't sure. I wanted to switch back to English and maybe just the first few lines they spoke out fully, and then like after that, because as soon as I switched to Japanese, same thing. It's huh, and then there's like 3 lines of dialogue. Ha!
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
I
whatever.
thought that was just good translation though, like T would say.
Yeah, the Japanese language is so efficient that they can just make 1-syllable sounds, and that's they speak an entire volume of text.
I felt that the voice acting was really out of place.
I thought
really-
it's kind of like if Shovel Knight was suddenly fully voice acted. It's like you don't really need it, and it just kind of distracts from it.
Yeah, in that kind of game.
And you can't.
I
skip
also
the
hate just
cutscenes.
text after text too. That's
know
something
what?
I'm not into.
And as most of us watch anime with subtitles, right? It's better to have the Japanese inflection and whatever. I assume that we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was hoping to get, right? That's why I switched from English, as usual, to English. And maybe part of it is just hearing it in your own language and you go, God, this is terrible. But then when you hear it in a foreign language and you don't understand it, you're like, oh, this sounds good. Maybe that's it. But that's so immediately I'm like, oh, turn this off. And I was hoping to get full Japanese dialogue, and I got huh. So yeah, it was what it was. But it was still better
Disappointing.
than listening.
Speaking of things,
You are going to be
Yeah.
my dancer.
It's a very good impression.
Terrible.
Speaking of expectations, I fully expected some information about Breath of the Wild DLC, and we did
Me
not get
too. I
that.
was
Oh,
gonna bring
yeah.
that up. Like,
Oh, we
getting
well,
Maybe it'll
got-
get its own direct or something.
information
Yeah,
from that
we
is like
did
pulling
sorta.
teeth.
We did sort of.
yeah.
because we
Amiibo.
got- yeah, the amiibo tidbits about the helmets. But
Oh
They look
yeah, they
cool.
did show that. Huh.
Yeah, the outfits looked cool. They were just like the amiibo do some. These outfits do something. More details on that later.
Mhm.
yeah,
So it's like you get the feeling that right now somebody's being whipped in a code room. They're just like, hurry, think of something. We got to get this out by Christmas.
anyone care about Xenoblade aside from scantily clad anime girls?
Even that's not enough to make me want to play Xenoblade.
Neither. Yeah, me neither.
Well, I have the first two games. I have Chronicles and X, but I haven't played through either of them. Just
I
the
have
first.
X, and yeah, I barely played it. Go ahead, T.
Oh no, it's just that I keep intending to at least go back and play the first one because it's great. Like I got through about a quarter of it maybe, and then I just stopped playing.
Yeah, I
It's a
heard the
very
first
time
one's
consuming
great.
game, I
People
think.
rave.
Yeah.
People rave about the first one, and I guess I just don't have the time for it. I think I put 5 or 6 hours into X on Wii U, and it was the first one I'd played. And like,
I don't
after
think they're the same game though, based on what I've seen of X,
Really?
because I haven't played it yet. And then Chronicles, or the first game, was like completely different. Like everything about it was its own thing.
Yeah,
But don't quote me on that because I haven't played through, all of the first
I think
one.
I've heard that too. That they're like different games, and the
I mean,
first one, the Wii one, was supposed to be the big one.
is the
Mhm.
gameplay similar? I mean, I assume it's still all the same sort of actiony RPG, right?
Yeah, they go with that trifecta, the tank healer DPS thing that you see in a lot of MMOs. They kind of made that into like a single player thing for the first game anyway. And I struggled
Well-
with that because I didn't understand the concept. So that's one of the reasons I didn't get very far. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of that they brought into the sequels or how much they tailored or changed exactly.
Looking at it, it sort of looks like it's a similar mechanic. It looks
More
like
or
there's
less,
always
yeah.
a character standing behind that is providing some sort of boost or benefit to the character up front doing the actual work that's probably tanking. But here's the thing about these kind of games is, to
Mhm.
me, after having played an MMO, they're just boring. They're just like playing a single
I
player
agree.
RPG afterwards. Like there's just a whole component that's just always missing to me now.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
gotta be
the
invested in
whole
the
the other
story.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
The story has to be the main thing because that was what kept me playing Final Fantasy 14. Always goes back to FF14. But it's sort of the same thing. Everything else is just extraneous, like accessory things to do in the meantime while you progress the story, I guess.
That's
But
Sometimes that's just RPGs.
yeah, that's just RPG, typical RPG for you.
That's-
just too much of an
I know,
investment.
but people love him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jay.
I was just saying the reason I've never played it or picked it up. It's too much of an investment. Hear about people putting 100 hours into it. It's just like I'm
Yeah,
not
and
that
people love
interested,
that though.
you know?
They see that's the value of the RPG game is
But-
that you can spend your life playing it.
Yeah. Length of playtime is a big selling point for these kind of things. But at the same time, how many hours have you put into Splatoon? You know?
Yeah.
400.
But that's a
800.
different thing.
Oh.
That's not a slow paced plodding through a story. That's in 3-minute chunks, very exciting 3-minute chunks
Mhm.
over and over and over again. And it's just a totally different experience. So I can sympathize because I'm not an RPG guy either.
Yeah.
No, I've played
And,
like Fire Emblem. I've played some of those, 13, 14 times just playing the same story. And I don't get tired of them, but I don't know, just thinking about spending 100 hours and not having the story complete or not having the main objective complete, that this is it's not interesting.
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
a huge investment, but to me, like
Yeah.
I still feel like I get something out of it. It's satisfying when you get to the end and everything wraps up nicely and you save the world or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's the characters, if they're nice 3D, like three-dimensional, if they have those personalities, then it's so much easier to get invested and you want to know what happens to them. I mean, that's like any book you read or what have you, but some games sell the characters better than others, and I didn't get that impression from Octopath Traveler based on what you guys were saying. So I skipped it.
Yeah.
What is
The
it?
the
What?
weird. Oh,
Go ahead, Mama.
I was gonna change up a little bit. A weird announcement that I didn't see coming at all either, and I don't know how to feel about is Mario Party the Top 100.
Oh snap! I'm gonna get that
I'm-
day one.
Oh, really?
I
I'm like the
love these
opposite.
random Mario Party games. Well, I'm missing
I
the
just
latest
desperately
3DS
wish that was
one.
on the Switch, though.
Yeah, it would have been nice with online play and
Oh, it's on
everything.
3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
might
that
they
makes me
might
want
port
it even
something
less.
over, or they might be working on a new one for the Switch, and this is just kind of what we have to play in the interim. But
Yeah,
I'll be all
I'd
over
love
that.
to
I'll
see a
have
Mario Party with
review.
online.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Um,
great.
You know,
I would buy
that
one.
seems like it. I don't know why they don't do that. I was really upset when they didn't do that with the newest one. I think Mario Party's kind of struggled a little bit over the last few years. Like the first 3 were great, and then I kind of tuned out a little bit. I'm sure some people played the other ones, but I'd love to see I just of local friends that are going to come over with their systems to play. So I'd one that you can just play online with people whenever. I still think it'd be just as fun
Yeah, it would
if
be.
it wasn't local.
Maybe when we have
But this one, it
paid-
looks like it's just the mini games.
Yeah,
Mm.
based on what they were
Yeah.
describing, it probably is. But I'm guessing that they're working on a Switch version with some form of online play. Maybe after they establish the whole paid thing, the paid network.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just throwing guesses out there.
I mean, it's cool, especially if it's the top 100. Like that's a ton of stuff. That's basically a Mario Party themed WarioWare at that point.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But like I've not seen any shots of a board or anything, so I'm thinking it's not really like a Mario Party game proper with the dice rolls and the moving spots. And it's I don't know if it's just going to be like a menu that you scroll through, or if it's like an endurance thing where you just go through all the games.
Well, they've had different
It'll be
like
interesting
mini
to see
game
what
modes.
kind of format they drop it into.
I don't know if you've played the more recent 3DS games, but they had like different gauntlets of sorts where you could play through like a best of 3 out of 5 or whatever for
I would
they
pick
had like
random
mini game
ones
modes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they brought like the more fleshed out puzzle games that they've collected over the years and like created like a separate mode in this game just for those, like I think that'd be worth the investment in and of itself because they've come up with some pretty good like I don't know if you guys played them recently, but they're puzzle games. They always have like 2 bigger ones, not just mini games, but like fully fleshed out actual puzzle things.
No, I've skipped them for so long. I haven't played many since like the Nintendo 64 ones where you'd rub the skin off of your palm trying to get that analog stick going in a circle as fast as you can.
And I think
Totally
another
worth
thing,
it, by the way.
I think another thing is Mario Party has got quite a bit of complaining from the fan base with some of the recent decisions, and I think maybe they're taking some more time here and hopefully addressing those and making a better product.
What were the fan
For the
complaints?
collection or for the next Mario Party?
Just for Mario Party as a series in general.
Yeah.
Like
No
I
more
know
cars.
the car thing is what comes up to my mind.
Oh yeah, I didn't like that. Mario Party, was that 9 or
Yeah.
10? 9?
The Wii U one,
Yeah, I didn't like
I
that.
think. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played one in a long time. There's probably a lot of people that haven't played one in a while. This feels like when we've talked about before, like filler titles,
Mhm.
like when they're like, it's not really a Mario Party game, but we're gonna stick that on there. I mean, it's more of one, I guess, than some of these other weird, wacky games that they put out as filler titles. But it's cool that they're doing the collection. But like, I want to see like a good Mario Party again.
Oh, here we go. I'm browsing Go Nintendo, and one of the headlines from several days back was Mario Party the top 100 to include board gameplay.
Oh, well, there
So it
you
looks like they
go.
actually will include it.
Oh wow.
So once
still not
you and
getting
all your
that far.
friends come over and get together with their 3DSs, you can play it.
Well, it does have local download play, and I've
Yeah, you love
mentioned that. Yeah, I love that because it's
Yeah.
just me and my one cart, and I've played with tons of people who obviously don't have the game.
Oh wow.
It's been really cool like that, and I think it's an underappreciated feature.
Yeah, I definitely love it. Like Mario Kart 7 had that. It's nice to be able to just be like, oh, you got a 3DS? Well, I got this game. We can play it. I think Star
Mhm.
Fox 64 had that. Star Fox 64 had the weirdest like feature. Like I love those early titles for any system because they use features that never get used again. But Star
Yeah.
Fox actually had a local multiplayer where it would use the internal camera so you could see the other person's face on your screen and watch their reactions as you kill each other.
Oh
Um,
wow.
Yeah, which in a tiny, in even tinier little box on the already tiny screen, but it was like it was neat. I guess I don't know of any other game that does that on
Nope.
on that, but yeah, I don't know. Jason, what was your anything huge that you loved
Um,
from
overall,
this direct?
overall, there wasn't that much that really excited me, I guess. Well, they started out with promoting Pokemon Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon. It's kind of like, and then they kind of ended up with a lot of Super Mario Odyssey. It was what, about 30 minutes of it.
Yeah,
It's just like,
yeah.
What?
I think we all kind of expected that.
yeah,
They had
yeah.
30 minutes of Super Mario Odyssey. I thought they just put it on the last 7 minutes.
I don't know how long.
Yeah, no, the whole thing was only
No,
like
yeah.
45 minutes, I
Yeah.
think. But
Yeah,
It
No,
looks
Super
Um,
Mario
so
Odyssey
good,
was really the
though.
last 7 or 8 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And it does look
Oh my
gorgeous.
god, I regret watching the footage because I would have wanted like half of that stuff to be a complete surprise going in, but it's okay. Like I'm still gonna play it
I've heard
probably.
complaints about that. People have complained, like, have we seen every single world in the game? Like, because they're showing so much, so many of the different environments that people are like, what's left? Is there going to be anything else?
Like environments are fine, but like the gameplay, what do you call them, gimmicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was a little bit more upset to see because I'm like, that's so cool, that's great too. Oh my god, that's awesome. And then like suddenly you're sitting there going, wait, what else is left?
Yeah, but some of that's cool too because when you get the game, you know what you can do.
Mhm.
So like the new Metroid, like if you didn't watch trailers on that and see they've got that weird I can't remember what they call it. It's like the counter attack, or it's like a weird block, like the enemy will charge you and then use this counter attack and shoot him. It's like if you
Like
didn't
the
know
melee
about that,
counter.
yeah, the melee counter, you would get hosed if you didn't realize that was a thing. I mean, it
Isn't
does
that
have a
in the
little tutorial that pops up.
Well, I was gonna say, I played the
Yeah.
demo of it in Chicago when I went to do the Mario Kart thing for the Nintendo World
Oh yeah, yeah,
Championship.
yeah.
I played a little bit of Odyssey and Metroid. So Odyssey was fun. It was about
Oh.
a 10-minute demo. I got to run
How long do you have
around
to stand in line for that?
probably half an hour. Wasn't that
Oh,
long.
that's not too bad.
They gave us posters and stuff. But it was fun, I guess, typical Mario. They didn't let me invert the controls, so I was struggling with the camera, but it's okay. It's good. Mario moves a little bit faster than he did in 3D World, 3D Land, and I guess 3D World was the latest one that came out.
Yeah,
Which felt
definitely
like he
faster
was
than 64.
running through molasses, but it was definitely much better, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've
And when
never
you said
been
you
like
played a demo,
huge into 64.
What
you
was
said
that?
you played a demo of Metroid. I was like, wow, they have a demo, but you played it at an event.
That's what I
Or
thought
like one
too
of
at
their.
first. She said,
Yeah, this was a couple weeks ago before the game was out.
uh,
So they had the
Nice.
tutorial to explain to you like
Yeah.
what the melee
Yeah.
counter was and stuff
I
like
th-
that.
I
So.
think it's so stupid. If there's one thing, then I've complained before about this, but there's one thing Nintendo should do: just put a damn demo of everything out. Like, it's not like a demo is gonna your sales, or maybe it will.
I know.
On a separate topic,
Yeah.
but related, is the melee counter thing. Why does and also with Super Mario with the hat, it's like, Why does every new entry in a game franchise have to have some new gimmick mechanic now? Like in Breath of the Wild, it's the mountain climbing / gliding.
Mhm.
Right? It seems like
It's
there's some new
expected though.
mechanic that they're going to build their game around, and that this is going to be the next Mario game. And then I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. Like the melee encounter, it doesn't bother me in Metroid. It just feels
Out of place.
unnecessary. Yeah, it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel
Well,
like it belongs there.
Here's
Momo
my
said it felt
theory.
like busy work. Go ahead, T.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing to do, and it's like I mean, every single enemy I have not played through the whole thing. I'm only, a few hours in, but so far, pretty much every enemy comes at you, and you're gonna take damage if you don't counter it. And it's just like, and I miss a little bit of the old Metroid of just spamming the shoot button and just blasting everything to hell.
Well, and even then, though, in old Metroid, there would be there were all sorts of places that you just better not stand there or you're going to get hit, right? And that was
Right.
kind of how it's sort of a similar idea, but it's just not the same mechanic. And I kind of would just, yeah, I'd rather it be that once I get to know the area, I can just plow. Because right, part of Metroid is having to go back and forth through the same areas to get over here, get over there. That's part of the fun. And
And when your weapons get better, you just obliterate everything.
yeah, but also
Before you had
once
to
you
shoot to
know
hell.
once you know where the monsters are in that area, you right, you can basically
Yeah.
fire before they even come on the screen, and you know you're going to hit them, and that was part of the fun too. Is you've got right, you can just blaze through this like a pimp because you know where all the bad guys are already, and and just this
Right.
now just makes it slows it down and it makes it makes it a little more of a chore. And I've only put an hour into it, and I've kind of put it away and haven't gone back to it. And it's just it ain't my Metroid.
I don't know.
I'll
Yeah, and I don't
play
know
it.
how big this one is, but I mean, it was the smallest Metroid. Metroid's a portable Game Boy experience, so it wasn't a huge game to begin with. So maybe
Was
they're
it?
doing some stuff to kind of pad it out a little.
Is that? Do you have statistics or whatever to back that up? Is it actually like the smallest map of any Metroid game?
To be. It was a Game Boy game. Like,
Yeah, but it came
it
out
was,
years. But
yeah,
it did come out years after the first one, and
but it didn't have like
now
a save feature or anything. It was, I think you had
now yeah, but
made for Zing or whatever.
But true, but I mean, it had save points like that they didn't have, as I remember correctly. I think it was the first one with save points, wasn't it? It didn't have save points in the original game. They just had those
Yeah,
stupid.
I don't, or maybe points now. Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, maybe it did have some. But yeah, it
Yeah,
had to be a smaller overall, I would think.
I don't know. It
Uh,
felt big. It felt like a much. To me, it felt like a longer game than the first one. But part of that may have been just the fact that you're playing it on a postage stamp that looks like
yeah,
vomit. Yeah,
I hated the. I mean, I like it. I like big sprites, but I hate that because it's big sprites. It's like it was so zoomed in that I
yeah.
felt like I never had an idea on the Game Boy one of where I was.
Yeah, that was. I spent a lot of time with Space Jump, having right. You'd spend
Yeah,
all your time with Space Jump, hopping around, finding all the corners of the room you were
or
in.
spider balling around the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because otherwise, yeah, you couldn't really see the whole area.
But I mean, I think it feels like a Metroid to me. There's nothing to me that's like, oh, this is really special yet, at
Yeah,
least. But maybe it'll change. It seems like a very like they hit, but like each Metroid. Well, I don't even really like the first NES Metroid, or it's
oh,
it's
blasphemy,
very back. But
blasphemy.
Super NES and Zero Mission and Fusion, like they all have like a special kind of thing where they're awesome to me. And this one, I don't know if it has it, but it's fun. I'm glad that there's a 2D Metroid. It seems to be selling well. I did stop by local Best Buy today to pick up a new SD card. When I was there, I was like, let's just see what's going on in Nintendo aisle, and of the Metroid. So that's good. Um, well and how it's weird because it's like I guess Mario's kind of like that too, where they've got a split fan base, either cater to the 2D crowd or to the Mario 64 crowd,
Well,
and Odyssey's obviously in the 64s.
here's a theory that I've had, and Nintendo's kind of alluded to this, like in the past when they've talked about their development process. They don't necessarily start with like a Mario game and say, okay, here's these ideas that we want to incorporate into a Mario game. They'll mess around in like engines and things and just fiddle with mechanics and physics and whatnot. Like Luigi's Mansion originally started out as a fishing game, and they tweaked it a bit,
Really?
and then and then they ended
Oh,
up
I guess the mechanics totally make sense. Yeah,
yeah, and then they
the way you grab the ghosts and everything. Yeah, that totally is
pretty
like a
much
fishing game.
because yes, so as they built this concept, they eventually just said, hey, let's stick this into a Luigi game, or let's build a Luigi game out of this. And I imagine they come up with like some cool new feature or whatever, and they're like, hey, we haven't done a 2D Metroid in a while, or it's been a while since we've had like a Mario game or whatever. Let's take these concepts and plug them into this game and just kind of go from there.
Yeah, they still have yet to
I-
plug in an F-Zero game yet, though.
Well,
That's true.
I'm still waiting on that, but I'm probably gonna die before they
I
come
think
out.
I
I'd be
would've been-
satisfied playing.
I think I would have been happier if the mechanic from Chibi Robo Ziplash was what they had eventually turned into a Metroid game, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
They did that with Kirby's Epic Yarn too. Originally, it was supposed to be something else, like a brand new IP, but they were worried it wouldn't sell, so they just turned it into a Kirby game.
Oh, that goes all the way back to Super Mario 2, right?
I believe so.
The US version. US
Vaguely.
version anyway. Yeah, the Super Mario 2 actually began life as it was a game produced at some
Yeah, I remember
convention.
now.
Doki Doki Panic.
Indeed, that was it.
Mhm. Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah, they've also said that they make a concept and then decide which of their characters are gonna go to that game. Unfortunately, I love it as well. I feel like F-Zero and Mario kind of in the same area, or at least that seems to be how Nintendo feels.
You're really cutting out, Momo.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Apologies
Ignore
for
me.
the technical difficulties there. I think Mo is currently transferring his old 3DS to his new 3DS, and it seems to be playing havoc with Hangouts tonight.
Could be.
We're going to blame Nintendo for that as well. So
It's always Nintendo's fault.
that's right.
It's just right, just like the old political joke. Thanks, Nintendo. Don't you guys down in the south have a new hurricane coming? Thanks, Nintendo.
That's right. Came directly from Japan, I'm sure.
So, okay, there's a subject I want to go
Directly
back
to you.
to. Yeah, probably. I would never mind. I was going to make a Fukushima joke, but I still don't want to make those.
Don't go there.
Too soon.
Yes. No, but it's like, hey, it seems like there's news about that often enough, and I live on the West Coast. It's like, that's floating my direction. I'm not joking about that. But that being said, the subject I want to return to, we touched lightly on, and I think is huge. Huge. I think we all agree, and the internet seemed to agree with us as well. Huge news that Doom and Wolfenstein 2 are showing up, are announced for Switch. Doom's coming out soon, and yeah, that's a year and a half old game, but that's the most recent big AAA port that we've gotten. That's not a sports one that I know of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then Wolfenstein 2 being announced, and that's not even out yet, and that's that
That's a
and
big step in the right direction. It's
that
a good
and-
step forward.
yeah. That is huge. That I'm trying to remember. I was saying, well, that hasn't happened since the Cube, and I'm trying to remember what did the Cube even have in terms of like the Cube had some pretty limited third-party support that generation. That was
Resident Evil
Right.
4 was like one of the launch titles, I think.
Mhm.
yeah no,
Was it?
and don't get me wrong, they had
Well, it came out
some,
later. Not
and
No,
they had
it
some.
wasn't the
and I've
launch
got some.
title.
Soul
I mean,
Calibur.
but I just remember having a cube, and not that I was interested in most of it, but there was just shovelware after shovelware coming out for the PlayStation and even for I think the Saturn at the time, compared to what we were getting on the cube. We were getting onesie twosie, and we were getting most of the biggest ones on the cube, but a lot of stuff we just weren't getting. It just wasn't showing up. And then there was the Wii generation where we got token ports of things that were by no means comparable to their HD console counterparts.
Right.
And then obviously the Wii U was a frigging disaster in that department, and the 3DS has never been anything, or their handheld line has always been kind of its own thing since the GBA, right? After that, it really became it was a obviously much less powerful console. The Game Boy and the GBA were at least sort of on par, but then now the Switch puts us back in that. But right, this is the first time we see stuff like this, stuff from Rockstar, and again that Morphe's Law thing. I'm real excited about it. It looks really cool, and yeah, it's an indie title, but it's yet another team shooter. And we're seeing can anyone actually tell me the name of that stupid MOBA? Got such a generic title.
I want to say Active Valor, but it's not.
It has Valor in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something of Valor. But yeah, like that's
Arena of Valor.
Arena of Valor. Thank you. Those are huge deals. I mean, I remember when the Switch came out, Blizzard made a little news because they tweeted something about, they tweeted a character from that people took to mean that they were considering porting Hearthstone to the Switch, and no, nothing like that has come along, but it would be a natural extension. And at this point, I kind of expect that stuff to start happening. I mean, Doom is a pretty hefty, and we'll have to see how the finished product actually looks on the Switch. But the fact that that's even in consideration,
right?
Like that to me says nobody has much of an excuse anymore, right? If they can make Doom run on the Switch, even if
missing the level editor.
Sure, the fact that that's the only thing announced as missing shocks the hell out of me. And again, we'll see how it looks. But if it's just a case of some lower res textures and various graphical concessions like that, but it still plays the same and it's still pretty much the same game, I'm on board with that. And a lot of people
blood code,
and a lot of devs will be, because that stuff will sell. And by the way, let me just to try to get as many of you as possible to support this whole thing. That Doom was great. I played the heck out of it on Steam. I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend it to anybody who doesn't have another platform to pick it up on, or that they have picked it up on.
I'll grab it then, because I've heard really good things about it too.
Yeah, no, if you liked if you played the original, and I won't spend too much time on this topic, but if you played the original, they channeled the vibe of the original beautifully. It's very simple. There's almost no story to it. It just kind of drops you in, and you got monsters, and you start going. There's key cards, there's health packs, and there's ammo, and there's really not much else. And I don't know. The levels work the same way as in the original Doom, and the secrets and the secret doors, everything about it just feels perfect like an original Doom game. Because they'd kind of gone down the road of those story shooters that are so popular with the last few Doom iterations, and not that they were bad. Doom 3, BFG, whatever, that was a great game. But this one, to me, as an old fart shooter player, this one really felt like a legitimate Doom sequel that I had not seen before. I was real happy with it.
What's BFG?
Well, you guys are gonna have to humor me and pick up Rocket League at some point so we can all play together.
Oh, that's a given. No, that's a given.
Fail collectively.
That's a given. Even though I know it's gonna be full price when it's.
I've heard rumor it's $20. I've heard rumor that they're keeping the price the same.
Okay, that's $20 is legit. I would.
So what's the catch?
I'd gladly pick it up. The catch will be
you got to play with a Mario hat.
The catch will be 720p only, probably. To maintain,
alright.
I bet you to maintain a 60 frames per second. And there will
I'll
probably
take it.
there'll probably be some minor texture things and shading and shadows and whatever.
But there may not be. That's not the most technologically, beautiful game. It
Well,
looks good. But
that being said, I'm assuming that my experience, like if you look at that Snake Pass game, which is similarly not a technologically very demanding game, if you look at it side by side with a PS4 Pro, there's a striking difference.
Oh.
It's significant. That being said, no way harms my enjoyment of the game. I have regularly, I've played Snake Pass in bed at the gynecologist or in my car waiting at a drive-through. So, to me, that right there alone is more than worth, a few graphical sacrifices. And again, it seems like the general gaming public is in, large part in agreement with that sentiment.
yeah, pretty forgiving.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, and just reading message boards and stuff, it's like, oh, I'll buy this for Switch. Yeah, okay, it doesn't look quite as good, but like we've reached kind of a point now where, right, the graphical difference between PS3, PS4, and PS4 Pro is, right, they're reaching that point where it's diminishing returns, where they double the processing
Yeah.
power for
Yeah.
very limited benefit in terms of graphical fidelity. So the consumer is getting to that point too, where it's like, is it worth all this for just a few more pixels or a few more polygons or a slightly better looking shadow? And most people are finally getting on board the Nintendo bandwagon that no, it's not. We'll take the slightly cheaper, slightly less powerful hardware that does more interesting things over the super duper powerhouse, the Xbone X, as it were, or whatever. And
that's
it really seems like Nintendo's hit that. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say that's really playing into Nintendo's hand because it's always been about the gameplay experience over the
Yeah.
graphical prowess. So if that becomes
got it.
less of an issue, then Nintendo's
Yeah.
right there. They've been playing this game for years or decades.
Ever.
Yeah.
Forever. Game Boy, everybody. We all remember, at least those of us old enough, remember when the Game Boy came out and everyone said, look at that piece of crap. Oh, but it's $80-$90. Oh, and it comes with Tetris. Oh, and there's that cool Super Mario game for it. Okay, well that's it. And everybody owned the crappy black and white, looked terrible, this big goofy, right? The big plastic case, the whole 9 yards, and it was the greatest handheld device of every child's life that owned one. And any kid that had the super fancy color Game Gear with the cool little TV card and the whole 9 yards was a miserable, lonely person.
I actually like graphics.
Yeah, the Game Gear.
The Game Gear. I
And-
actually
and
like
how-
graphics, and
Yeah.
I always want to try to get stuff that has better graphics. But I'm a Nintendo fan, so I stick with Nintendo. But yeah, the difference in graphics really is it's leveling off. It's not that big of a deal anymore.
It is. I mean, the difference between, like, look at GTA 5 and then compare it to something, something fancier on the PS4 Pro. And you can tell the difference. It looks slightly more realistic, slightly less cartoony. But when you watch, if you go to the movies and you watch, say, Toy Story, or you watch, something, or you watch, one of your superhero movies or whatever, like, even though Toy Story doesn't look as good, quote unquote, it's still, you thoroughly enjoy the movie. And I think people just have gotten in that same mindset with the games. It's right. Retro games are a thing. Some of these terrible, terrible little 8-bit indie games, they look horrible, but they're fun and people play the crap out of them and they get huge and they have these huge cult followings, even no matter how terrible they look. So it's kind of
VVVVVV.
Yeah, perfect
Yeah.
example. Perfect. There's many.
Well, that's the
yes.
thing. Yeah, when it looks horrible, the play mechanic has to be good.
Yeah, that's yes. That's going
mean-
back to the movie analogy. It's the same thing. When you have a small budget, or whatever, or you have a very tiny set or a limited number of characters or whatever, then the story has to be awesome, or you got nothing.
Not always though, because there was the Blair Witch Project. If you
Okay,
remember
well,
that.
or the gimmick, or the
It
gimmick.
still made its money though,
The gimmick
It made
had
its
to
money,
be had to be
but
good. It was a good
it made
gimmick.
its.
and
Right.
also
It
there's a
made
lot
it.
more passion in those smaller projects. You know, it's people pouring their life into it.
Yeah.
True.
Is
Yeah.
there any difference graphically between Breath of the Wild on Switch and Wii U?
Very, very
I-
minor
yeah.
differences.
I mean, I've
No,
had somebody show me a side by side, and they were like, "Oh, the Switch is better." I'm like, "How?" And they're like, "You don't see it?" And I'm like, "No."
I mean, it might
Like,
be a
oh,
little
it's the
smoother, but I mean, it's basically a Wii U game that's ported.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, there is a resolution difference, right? I think the Switch didn't do 1080p, but did like 900p or
Oh,
something
really?
when it was
Oh.
docked. That the Wii U couldn't do. Wii U was locked at 720, as I remember.
Yeah,
And correct me if I'm
Oh.
wrong, but
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I
that's
mean,
right.
other than that, I always understood them to be pretty much identical. Like even the weird slowdown things would happen in the same places with like the frame rate issues, from what I understood.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a video out there. I don't recall who made it, but they did like a side-by-side comparison of the same scenes from both the Wii U and the Switch, and there wasn't that much of a difference. I don't know if
Yeah.
anything's been updated since then, but overall, like technically it should run just a little bit better on the Switch, at least in like very populated areas, but I don't think it's really that noticeable.
Mm.
At least
No,
when
and
I
it's
went with
so
the Wii
early
U
in this.
version.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so early in the Switch too that we really don't know. Like, you know, at the end of the life cycle, how great those games are going to look
Mm. True.
when people start unlocking the potential of the system.
And I gotta say, the sports titles, I'm watching the direct again right now, and you know, they look really good. Maybe there's not as many polygons on the players. Maybe there's not, the grass doesn't look quite as real or whatever, but all the movements there, all the gameplay is there, and it's still, you know what I mean? When you sit back and just kind of look at it casually, it looks like video. It looks like overhead footage of a real game. I don't know. To me, it is. It's good enough to do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Nintendo, it's good
comparisons,
enough.
so I'm
For the
sitting
money.
here like looking at a side-by-side comparison of Kelp Dome from Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, and there's a huge difference in how the paint looks, and I still
Oh.
prefer the way it looked in the first
Yeah.
game than I do now. I'm not sure
Yeah.
why they changed it as
It's
think
more
drastically as they
reflective.
did. Yeah,
I think
but
they
the
changed.
first one was.
Oh, and you know what? Here's another thing: is we are using a completely different GPU at this point, right? We're using a completely different kind of chipset, so it could just be inherent in the firmware of how certain shaders work and whatever on this particular chip versus whatever the hell they were using in the Wii U.
Ah, okay.
Mm.
So it could just look different by necessity, but I also have a feeling that they probably had more processing power to work with or something fancy, and they tried to make it look quote unquote better. And yeah, I think I agree. I kind of like the way it looked on the old one a little better.
Mm.
It's really noticeable if you've got like a wall of it or something, and you just like it kind of distracts you almost from a match. It's like, ugh. Or at least it is for me.
I
I think
think
I
it
get
looks
so
fine.
wrapped up in what's going on that I don't really notice how the paint looks anymore. But it was very jarring, when I booted up the game and I'm like, I don't remember. You stare at the colors for so long, however many hundreds of hours. It's very obvious.
I've been
Well,
realizing
Gotta
that
get
I'm
used to it.
colorblind because I can't tell the difference between the purple and the blue depending on which color I'm going up against, I'll be like, oh, this is blue and whatever. I like on lime green, I can tell that it's purple, but for some reason, there's sometimes maybe there's 2 different shades of purple in there. I don't know. I can't tell.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of shades of everything. I don't think they stick to just like 12 colors or whatever. They have this whole spectrum of available hues. Someone did a comparison out there. They like tracked it, and I don't know how many there are exactly, but I wasn't aware that they had used so many colors.
I didn't know
but-
you could be colorblind where you can't distinguish blue and purple. I've heard of red and green. I guess
Maybe
there's
not.
colorblindness for everything.
I just
Maybe it's
looked
just-
at it. It's like I think there's blue, and then there's like an indigo, and then there's like an actual like
I
lavender
think
or
you just got to
something.
change your
Well, there's
color
shades
settings.
in between too.
Yeah, tweak your color settings on your TV,
That
man.
could be
You can
too.
probably get better contrast.
I kind of run into that sometimes with the purpley colors. It's like I guess from Splatoon 1, you have certain colors and you've got the limited colors kind of ingrained into your brain. And then you see something, it's like, that should be that, but it's not.
You guys, you only see 12 colors anyway. Ha 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 ha.
I thought the colors are always like diametrically opposed to each other, like lime green and purple, and then I don't know what the other ones are. Like
Yeah, it seems
orange
like
and
they
blue.
do the color based on what you're up against in Splatoon 2. I don't know.
I don't know when the last time was that a group of people spent this long talking about colors that weren't either artists or stoners.
Can't we
But,
be both?
Important topic, Z. Come
Yeah,
on now.
how about them colors, man?
Anyway, what else did we have tonight? We could mourn
There's
Toys R Us.
shirtless Mario.
Shirtless Mario.
Shirtless
Mhm.
Mario
Yeah.
patched into or
Goodness
now see here's the
gracious.
thing. I think the whole thing with the shirtless Mario is a natural follow up to the whole Mario's no longer a plumber. So I think
Ah.
like people are thinking
And
of
he's
him
a
now
human.
as unemployed. So we need to see Mario in a wife beater now, you know?
Yeah,
I think, you know, and like
And
boxers
Smash
in
for-
a wife beater, yeah. And drunk, yeah.
Mario GTA.
With
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And with you know,
in New
with some
Donk
beard
City or
growth.
whatever that city is. What's that city
New
in Odyssey?
Yeah, New Donk City.
New Donk
New
City,
Donk
yeah, man. We
Yeah.
need to see him sitting out on a park bench with a bottle in a paper bag. And yeah, no, totally. That's he's unemployed, man.
I thought this was an interesting point. I was watching a video earlier. They pointed out that Nintendo has confirmed that Mario is indeed human.
But not
With-
Luigi.
But
go
why
ahead.
does Mario not look like the other humans in the game that are in New York City?
Some things
just-
happened during the Mario is Missing years, probably.
He just
This is
needs
really-
to eat a super mushroom.
All those years of mushroom abuse.
Yeah, it's abusing the mushrooms. I read some study that mushrooms are, you know, supposedly the safest, like safer. I don't even whatever. All I know is that Mario has consumed too many of them. Yes.
On that, I can agree.
Can't be good for the body to get big and get small and get big and get small like that.
Yeah, no, totally. When you balloon up and down like that, that's when you get the saggy skin and yeah, totally.
Well,
He
there's a
looks
YouTube
pretty good
video.
with his shirt off still.
Surprisingly, he's had work done, dude.
There was a YouTube video that said they looked at Luigi's profile and it didn't say that he's not a plumber anymore. They assume that he's still a plumber and waiting on his big break.
Well, we know that Luigi is the superior brother, of course.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, though. Luigi's
He did get a whole year to himself. You
Yeah.
know?
Luigi now runs around with a vacuum and goes into people's houses and cleans. Luigi seems to be,
Ghostbuster.
yeah, but like really a janitor who happens to bust ghosts, right?
He's
This is
vacuuming the
Mario.
carpet. If a ghost gets caught in there,
Yes.
Since Mario's off slacking off now, you know, Luigi's got to pick up a second job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Luigi's got to take up the slack.
and
Because
you can see the contempt in his face as he passes your car.
yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Because he's sick of it. Because he's pissed at Mario for shirking the family business and leaving it up to him to run. Mario's off chasing after his girlfriend all the time, who seems to constantly get in trouble, and Luigi's left at home to, actually do the plumbing and fix people's
Yeah.
toilets, and you
Luigi's not even in Super Mario Odyssey, is he?
I hope so. He should be unlockable. They should do
He'll
that
be there
again.
somewhere.
I would. Why not?
He'll be a
Why not?
pixel.
Okay, remember when Super Mario, original Super Mario 3D came out, or Super Mario 64 came out on DS, and they added the
Mhm.
ability to unlock other characters, so you could play as Yoshi, you could play as Peach. Why don't
Mhm.
they do that? Why don't they keep that the cool mechanics from 3D World and originally Super Mario 2, where Peach floats and Luigi can jump higher and whatever. They just now
I'm
you have
sure
an
they'll bring that
excuse to
back. It's
Yeah,
probably
you have an
one of the
excuse to
secret
play.
unlockables.
yeah,
at the
because then
end.
you have it's a gameplay, right? Now you have an excuse. It's just like with Shovel Knight, or it's a big thing with all these indie titles now. Just there's a new DLC character. Now you can play back through the game as a completely different character with totally different mechanics.
Mhm.
Nintendo should totally do that. Why not? They've done it before.
Yeah. But they won't. Because they're Nintendo.
I don't know. They might go real purist with this Odyssey, and really, because they seem like they're really trying to. Everybody has been screaming and crying for another Super Mario 64 / Super Mario Galaxy type game / Sunshine, sorta. And they haven't done it for a while, so I think it seems like they're really doing a lot of fan service in this one. So hopefully they don't go too purist and not give us any of the new fancy stuff that they've come up with lately.
Yeah.
Well, they have stated
Well-
that this is for hardcore players, right? More so than
Oh, really?
casual. I believe they have.
Isn't everything? I did see the rating came out, and it got like not the US ones, but I think in Japan it got rated it's like basically their equivalent of T for teen,
Ooh.
because it had some I don't know,
Mario
adult
nipples?
themes. It could be the nipples, it could be cartoon violence, who knows.
Yes.
We'll find out
I
in
think it's
about a
cartoon
month.
nipples. That's what I think it is.
It's the scary
I'm-
T-Rex.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's coming out in October and not in December. It's like a month
Do
away.
they really have anything that comes out in December, though? So usually November is the last month where they have stuff come out.
There is something. Oh, what was it? What's the game? There.
You can look it up.
Oh, is it
Has there ever
Xenoblade? Wait.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I
Has
was
there
gonna
ever been a
say.
Mario game rated T for teen?
Oh, no.
No.
There hasn't.
Jumping back? Like, that's
No. Nope.
kind of amazing. But sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, has there ever been a game that they released in December? I don't think there has.
Toad Treasure
maybe.
Tracker, I'm 99% sure came out in the very beginning of December, not end of January, or not end of November, but I could be wrong.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Pokemon's in November. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is December 1st.
Oh, December
And then-
1st?
Uh-huh. And then
Oh, wow. All right.
that's where the calendar ends.
Oh, I'm
There's, like,
totally
one-
wrong. Captain Toad came out in November.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
they got Xenoblade in December 1st. I'm amazed.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
well, they've got a
Xenoblade
bunch
was
of
the
other
real big
holiday-
one that year.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of holiday titles too that will likely be out between November and I think January.
I'm surprised at this point that any of the games featured in the Direct still had the coming holiday as far as the release date. That was kind of odd to me.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, even Doom. It's like, hey, huge announcement. This big game's coming out in just a couple months. But we don't really have a hard date for it yet. Or really
Yeah.
even any, I don't even know if that footage they showed was of the Switch version. They just showed like a blip of Doom. And then, although people have been going over every frame of that streaming video and have insisted that, yes, this is the Switch version. They can tell because the textures look different or whatever.
Mm.
So I've seen some side by sides. People are swearing it. And Bethesda, from what I understand, they had to do a lot of custom work to get it up and running. But what that exactly means, I don't know. That's kind of just vague statements I've heard or
Yeah.
read on the internet.
And interwebs.
SteamWorld Dig is out in 2 days. I did not know that.
2 days?
Yeah,
Yes.
2 days.
Pretty excited about it myself.
It releases on a Thursday.
Mhm.
That
Just
is
like
weird.
everything on the eShop.
Oh, eShop. Okay, well then, just major releases are only on Friday then, or
They've been scattered. It just seems to depend. There's been a couple things that released midweek or early in the week.
yeah, something released on Tuesday. That was Rabbids plus Mario.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you call that one?
Mhm.
That was weird. That it released on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, they were a lot more rigid about their Thursday schedule back in the day. It seems like stuff is showing up on this eShop a little more willy-nilly than it used to, which is fine with me.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I just
as
need a
long as
date.
it's
Like,
not
as
all
long as I
crap.
know when it's coming out, it doesn't matter what day.
I kind of like
The
the
sooner the
Thursday
better.
schedule.
Doom
Just
is
because you could
releasing
check
on
in on
Christmas.
Thursday, it's like, okay, there's all the new games.
Oh yeah.
I'm a weird
Sure.
organized person. I
Okay.
know.
So we all got to join up for Morphe's Law
Mhm.
and Rocket
Rocket
League
League. Yep.
and Doom and I don't know what else, man. There's all sorts of goodies.
I like LA Noir, but that's not multiplayer though.
Is there? I was wondering if there was a multiplayer component. I never played that, and I'm curious about picking it up. Same for Skyrim. If the price is right, hell yeah, I'll check it out.
Switch tax.
I want to support this stuff. Yeah, Switch tax, I know, but I want to support this stuff. I want to, like, you know what I mean? I guess
Yeah.
there's a nostalgia bone for me of having the old Nintendo 64 or Super Nintendo or original Nintendo, where it's like there's just, you know what I mean? There's all sorts of stuff, not just Nintendo's games on it. It's been so long that shouldn't be a big deal, but oh, it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It really excites me to like
Oh.
be able to to be able to not like, right, when I'd meet up with my family on Thanksgiving and I'd bust out the Wii U. That was neat because nobody had one. Right? So it's like, oh wow, you have one of those? Okay, let's play that. Cool. But it's like, oh well, I'm playing this and that on my console. Yeah, good for you. I got a PC.
Yeah.
Right? It's like there's just all sorts of stuff out there that you always have that little insecurity in the back of your mind that it's like, damn it, there's all this stuff that I can't get. Even though I got all these great Nintendo exclusives, there's all this stuff that I can't get. And now that
just-
just seems to be totally going away, and that excites me way more than I thought it would.
I just thought of this, but they didn't announce anything for any cell phone game, any mobile game. So I'm really glad about that. I'm amazed.
Well,
It's
Animal
like-
Crossing should be out in December, January. That was the plan. They
Ah,
were going to
damn it.
push it to, yeah. Well, they've got a couple of other games that they're working on too. They were planning to release like 6 of them altogether. But
6 Animal Crossing
Yeah.
mobile
Yeah,
games?
I think. Well, I
No,
think
just
they've said
6
2 a
mobile games.
year. Yeah, they basically have said 2 a year is what they're going to do. I think.
Yeah,
Damn.
and whatever they
They were-
initially announced, I know they cut back on. But go ahead, T.
Oh no, they I just wanted to say that they like expanded the release schedule. They wanted to release one every 3 or 4 months, and it ended up being like one every 9 months or so. But Animal Crossing should be next on the list, and then they were working on I think 2 others. That Professor Layton one might be one.
There's a Professor
But I'm
Layton
not
coming
sure.
out on 3DS. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but that was originally a
Oh.
mobile game.
Mobile game? Oh, good thing they ported it to 3DS then. It's better on 3DS.
Wait, backtrack. So there already was a Layton mobile game?
That's come.
I
Oh,
could be completely wrong. Let me double check here.
I think she was saying that they were planning on making a Layton mobile game, but they put it out on 3DS instead. But not that there was already
Lady
one
Layton.
out.
I'm not sure if it made it here. It might just be like a Japanese thing. But
We're all just getting old and don't remember anything.
yeah, I know, right?
We heard about that at some point in time.
Yeah, it was released
Yeah.
on iOS and Android July 20th, but
Really?
didn't hear a lot about it, so
They didn't even announce it at E3, did they?
not that I know of.
Weird.
go back onto the Animal Crossing subject, I thought it was kind of unusual. Almost immediately after the Direct, Nintendo has posted a couple of nods to Animal Crossing. It was like an anniversary or something. And I think people automatically jumped on the train saying, "Oh, they're planning a new Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing coming soon." It was just like an anniversary. You know how Nintendo posts that on Twitter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw the post.
But with
We've
Nintendo,
been giving Tom Nook bells for years.
maybe
Yeah,
there's
it's
something.
coming. It's coming. We just don't know anything about it. When
God
it'll
damn
be
it.
released. I was hoping we'd get one on the Wii U in the same, and I've mentioned this like a million times already, but that Animal Crossing software demo download from ages ago that they only had up for like a year or so, where they have like the models done already for all the villagers. I guess they just used it for Amiibo Festival so far, but I'm hoping that they ported something over to the Switch, and that's, I guess they just have a lot going on this year, so they might save it for next year, next spring or holiday.
Yeah, I would hope all the 3D models they've built and all that kind of stuff is it's got to have to right. I remember it was a really big deal when they finally built all the 3D models for all the Pokemon. Again, that was a few years prior to the 3D Pokemon games coming out, but I remember them making a big point out of it. So I would hope that all that work doesn't get wasted and they have to start over on the new platform.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for Amiibo Festival.
I'll keep my fingers
half
crossed.
bad. It was not half bad.
I have to
but
agree, it wasn't
Amiibo
half
Festival?
bad either. Yeah,
Yeah.
surprisingly, it wasn't half bad. If you
It
play
wasn't
with
half
some-
bad. It was all bad.
It was pretty bad, guys. I hate to tell you.
I'm trying to
I mean,
redeem it a little bit here.
I
It
think
had
that you
its-
guys. Oh, go ahead.
It reminded me of that one stock market game that Nintendo released ages ago. It's really popular in Japan, and it only had like one iteration here, even though it's like a running series over there. Some Mario related stock based thing. It was basically that, but in Animal Crossing form.
Hmm.
But no, Desert Island Escape, that's what made it so good. And what also made it redundant eventually, because they brought it over to New Leaf,
Just on
which is the
New Leaf.
greatest decision they could have made regarding that. But anyway, I just remember that. It made me happy for like 2 seconds.
Desert Island
Yeah.
Escape was the little mini RPG thing, right? Where you took turns and found items and.
Oh yeah, that is on
Mhm.
there. I
Yeah.
Is
forgot.
that the one you're talking
That's the-
about?
That's the one I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I admittedly that's the one far and away we spent the most time with, but I don't know. But just you're selling us what was it was a $60 package, am I wrong? With 2
Yeah.
Amiibo in it?
With 2 Amiibo, yeah.
Oh, it was definitely
That-
way too expensive. I waited for the
that-
price to drop down to like $12.
Yeah, you're smart, but it just that A, it's embarrassing that I paid full price for that. B, well I didn't. I got the 20% discount, but B, that is Nintendo should be embarrassed that they even charged $60 for that.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
Yeah.
$30 at most with the Amiibo, you know.
The fact that
most.
got through whatever, that just to me that was a series of dumb bad decisions on their part,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yep.
they had to know going out the door that was going to be a disaster, and they just let it go anyway.
That was a filler game for sure.
Mhm.
You talk about filler games. But for some reason, I don't know, I liked it. I think it's because I thought it would be so terrible, and then it just wasn't as
And it was
terrible as
not as terrible as
Yeah.
I thought. No, I've
It-
been the same way about movies. Terrible movies. If you go in thinking they're going to be terrible, you walk out going, Like I still like Johnny Mnemonic because I had heard how awful it was before I saw it and thought, this ain't so bad.
Is that the one where he tattoos reminders to himself? That's a different movie.
That's Memento.
Oh, that's
Although
Memento.
Yeah.
although actually Johnny Mnemonic probably would have been a better title for that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. Amiibo Festival, it feels like it would have been better if it was I think they even mentioned at first that it was gonna be like a free to download, and then they were like, "Nope, never mind, it's full retail."
I think they gave that impression or something, but never like people assumed it was free to download,
Yeah,
and
that's what I remember about it too.
but they didn't. Then they were like, "Well, we never actually said that." Kind of like people, a lot of I remember reading a bunch of news sites that had assumed 1-2 Switch was a pack-in game
Oh, yeah.
It should have been.
when they announced it, and it should have been.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those why wasn't it?
So, Jason,
Yes,
our master of ceremonies, how you doing?
we're doing good.
It's the face raiders of the Switch.
That's right. Since we're delivering verdicts on all these games, I think it's perhaps time for us to deliver our final verdict of the night and wrap up. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're around the end there.
My
So the
final
direct-
verdict.
what's the final verdict
My
Oh,
final
on the
verdict.
direct?
of the direct? Yes.
Nintendo sucks so much less than they did a week ago,
Ooh, look at that optimism.
Wow.
but they suck. I mean, still, Virtual Console is still completely a no-show. Online support is still completely a no-show. Chat and any sort of friend interaction is an utter joke.
You got your chat.
And Wii U owners are completely frigging out in the cold. So Nintendo still sucks. They suck ass. But with a lot of these big announcements, I'm seeing maybe a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm hoping that, like, okay, now that we've sold 1 million of these things, we'll throw a bone to you Wii U owners who supported us for all those years.
Not happening, but
That's-
I'll share in
no,
your
I-
optimism.
Damn it, I was hoping nobody was gonna shoot me down like that, but I knew it was coming.
My
Sorry,
final
man.
verdict is I was impressed, especially by the Bethesda announcements, the Doom, Wolfenstein, LA Noire. The LA Noire was huge for me because I remember it coming out and I was like, oh, I can't get that because it's not on a Nintendo console, but it looks really cool. Now I can, and I mean Odyssey is great, and I don't like Xenoblade, but yeah, it was a great direct. I was impressed by it.
I kind of feel
Well,
like.
go on,
Go
Jason.
ahead.
Save
one
the best
talking.
for last. My ranty complaint about one thing, but y'all know what's coming.
Well, I was just going to say I see a light at the end of the tunnel as well, as you brought up. There are some very hopeful things going on, and that's a huge change from what's been the norm at Nintendo lately. So overall, I'm going to say it was a success, but we still need more stuff. So
Well, we're still not getting a new F-Zero, so Nintendo still sucks. But
I'm on with you there, dude. That and no new Still Diver, to me, that Nintendo, they're in the doghouse until one of those show up.
But that aside, I am excited for like random little oddball titles like the Mario Party thing, Kelp Dome, and there's one other one, Etrian 5, which we already knew was coming out, but it was nice to have like confirmation for like because I've really been wanting to play another Etrian game, so that's nice. If we're not getting Monster Hunter, at least I'll have that. What Capcom was like absent from the direct entirely, but that's okay. We still have November, more to look forward to this holiday season. So Odyssey's coming up soon as well. So I'd give it like an okay score, probably. Okay to pretty good. Didn't blow me away, but I was pretty happy with some of those announcements.
We
I
got a
think
lot of
it's-
games.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I think it's exciting to see. Just again, I really, the big hope now is that all these other big AAA devs will follow Bethesda and Rockstar's lead, and if even a fair portion of them do, we suddenly have a legitimate console for the first time in 2 or 3 generations. That's exciting.
Yeah.
and to me, it says overall that perhaps the Switch will indeed be a success. and there is hope for it because I don't know that we had that even a few months ago.
Hey, Credit Suisse just did that. They just upgraded Nintendo's rating and believe that that the 70 million lifetime sales that they expect for this unit is too conservative, and they've doubled it to 130. Well, almost
They're
doubled.
crazy.
I think that's a little.
We'll see.
That might be a little too optimistic, but
That might
damn,
be
this
if
thing's got some
everyone.
legs, man. It
if
really
everyone's-
does.
Yeah,
It might
the
be if
3DS
everyone
isn't at
switches.
70 yet, though. I don't think, is it?
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
think
the
so.
3DS is
I
like
think-
65. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's this
So
3DS
far.
never had this kind of buzz. Never.
Do we
Has a
know
lot
what
of
the
games,
Switch
though.
numbers have done
True.
so far?
Is it 10? Not 10 yet. Not 10
No,
million
it's
yet.
like-
We don't know. It's
We don't know.
definitely not
more
10.
than 3,
They're,
I think.
they're shooting for 10 by the first year, and that's just if they can produce them. But yeah,
I
they've
mean, I guess we can kind of extrapolate from like Splatoon sales because apparently, I don't know, 3/4 of people who bought Splatoon in Japan, or 3/4 of Wii U or Switch owners bought Splatoon 2 in Japan.
Hmm.
yeah
It's about
I've
how
seen
much is sold elsewhere.
I've seen some sites doing all the math with because you can get to the information if you find enough of the right like percentage of this owner to that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen people figuring that out. But yeah, I think Momo was on track. I think it's over 3 at this point. I don't know if it's quite to 4. It's it's hard to see when numbers are constantly moving. But it's
True.
again, it's good to know it's doing well. It's good to know that there's big stuff coming for it, and it makes me very excited. And so Mo, what's your final verdict on the direct?
Just that there's a lot of games coming. They might not be the games I want, but it's a ton of games. Third-party support's very hopeful. I'm optimistic cautiously, but I think it's doing pretty good.
Cool.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right, I guess that'll be a wrap for tonight, guys. Thank everyone for coming out. It's good to have you with us again, T. And
Yeah.
Anytime. Well, anytime my schedule allows. I've missed hearing from you guys, so it's been fun.
Always good to have you back.
Yeah.
so thanks for watching, guys. If you're tuning in on YouTube, if not you can check us out on Stitcher, iTunes, and you can also find us on Twitter. So we'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Good night.
on, kids.
Bye.
Good night.